Hello guys again. So if you remember, we've talked about activities for lower level students before. Now it's time to grace high levels with our attention. There are many games and activities that you can do to make them interested and engaged. Here's one activity. I'm sure that if you've taught for a long time, you know a great game called Alias. It's a game where you have to divide students into teams and explain as many words as you can to your team during 1 minute time limit. Now, in some versions, you also need to act out an emotion or things like that, you know. Alias in general is a great tool to help your students overcome anxiety when speaking a foreign language, and the whole process is a lot of fun, especially if you introduce a little competitive spirit by setting up a prize for the highest score. Now, personally, I usually make it a so-called free-for-all, meaning that I don't ask students to form teams, but instead each student takes turns to explain as many words as possible during 1 minute period. So obviously, if you have a big class, this approach might be somewhat challenging, so either have a couple of Alias games, for example, or divide your students into groups as the regular rules dictate, right? So this is a great speaking practice for them, and they usually have a lot of fun. Now, don't be shy and participate yourself. It makes it even better, since you can actually give them an example of how to do that and be part of the team, which is great. Team building, yay! If you have only one student and no group, you can also do this activity. It works very well. Basically, you just explain words to each other or ask the student to explain as many words to you as they can, and you try to guess. Well, depending how good their explanation is, you will have a certain score. And if you want to use it for, let's say, teach a certain vocabulary and not the vocabulary that is given by Alias, that is also doable. All you need to do is select a vocabulary, write it on the card, and pass it out to students, and they explain the words that you actually want them to learn and know. It doesn't have to be a game-specific vocab. You can just prepare words that you want them to learn, put them on the cards, and pass them out so the students can guess. If you want to use this activity for internet studies, that is also possible. For example, if you have one student type in one or several words, send it to him and ask to explain it to you so you can guess. If you have a group, however, then you can send a word or several to one student so that student can explain those words to the others and they can guess. So there you go, have fun. So, if you want your high-level students like advanced or upper intermediate to practice presentation skills or just speaking skills, a good way to do this would be an activity that I like to call board stories. Don't worry, you won't have to ask your students to stand in front of the class and make a presentation. You will, however, be using the board or, for example, a piece of paper if you don't have one. It's a great activity to start the lesson and go from there. So, first of all, you need to think about some interesting topics for a group discussion or short individual presentation, like say 5 or 6 topics is enough. Put it on the board or write it on a piece of paper so they have something to choose from. It's a good idea to try and make them touch upon different areas like life, business, etc. so you can give students a wider choice of areas to talk about. Also, I always add a final topic, which I usually call your topic, which essentially means that a student can talk about anything in the world, anything he wants. This is an activity that doesn't really give time for preparation, however. It's focused on improvisation. One rule that I have is that every student has to listen and then ask at least one question which is connected with what was being talked or discussed. There are 2 approaches to this activity. It can be one topic to discuss or present for the whole class, or each student can pick a different topic and talk about it. Of course, students can pick the same topic even if it's a so-called free-for-all. I find that such an activity makes students engaged, trains their speaking, listening, and presentation skills, as well as working as a good icebreaker.